guys, Robed Manlet checking in. Just kidding. Part 2 with ERIC HELMS is actually about a topic that ERIC HELMS wanted to talk about, and that is estimating your stage weight for competitions. This is something that he believes is perhaps the biggest issue with at least the amateurs and even the not amateurs of bodybuilding, natural competitive bodybuilding. So here is the video, and we actually go into some Q&A towards the end of it, such as how low you can take your dietary fat. So check it out, let us know what you think. Thanks for watching. Robed Manlet checking out, just kidding. About contest prep, about body fat percentage, estimating your own stage weight and how it's usually a little off. So, what first of all, what kind of made you want to talk about this topic?
I think you put up the I guess it was the first update when I first sent you your program for this year, right? Yeah. And you mentioned how coach thinks I need to be somewhere between 150 to 155. I'm currently 190. Yeah. And you've got a set of abs, you've got good shape, and everyone basically just absolutely lost their shit. Like, what? You're 40 pounds over stage weight, and yeah. And I remember that. And I think that's a really common thing. Yeah. And it's so common that when you go to a bodybuilding show, you only see about maybe 5 out of 50 guys who have striated glutes. True. Because most of us who got into bodybuilding, we wanted to be big, Yeah. And somewhere along the line, we decided I want to try to be big and shredded and wear a Speedo and put on bronzer. True. That's quite different than like the things that sell muscle mags. I mean, competitive bodybuilders are honestly probably like the minutia of people that buy bodybuilding magazines. True. A lot of people really interested in like building their muscle mass and being more aesthetic and all that stuff, but few of us who become the psychos who get on stage.
That's true. We're kind of freaking crazy.
And so I mean, I think the typical bragging rights are: I weigh this. This is my body fat percentage. Yep. And I bench this much, right? Right. True. So and typically the body fat percentage is something where you grab the handhold or you got skin calipers, and then whichever one was lower you went with. And true. Even if that was 2 months ago and 10 pounds lighter, you're still going to stick with it because you still got abs, So yeah, I've been there too, and that's exactly the way I was. And just to put it in perspective, like I originally, I was like 165 when I started. I don't know if people have seen before pictures, but if you think I'm like, you should have seen before I ever started lifting. I think my forearm was bigger than my bicep. So. Popeye. But yeah, but reverse, or whatever. Yeah. So I actually did Popeye. That's normal. Yeah. Yeah. But I started at like $165. I was 21. I was 6 foot, so my height didn't change. And I slowly over 2 years, it's not that slow. I got up to 220, and I got kind of like fat. But coming from a skinny background, I thought any weight I added was good. Yeah. And so then I figured, I'm 220. I can drop 20 pounds and I'll be in stage weight. You'll be shredded. Right? So, yeah. So I dropped 26 pounds. Ooh. I got down to 194. I dieted for like 3-4 months or something like that. First diet I ever did. And I was probably a legit 12% body fat. Damn. Damn. Yeah. At the time, I only been training 2 years. If I wanted to keep going, and get this condition, let's see, I was 190. I probably would have had to get to 170. And so I just didn't compete that time. I was like, oh God, I have another twice as much weight that I just lost to Boozy. And so I took it a little more slower. I didn't get to 220. I got back to like 210 or something like that, and then. I competed for the first time in 2007, and I was like 178, Okay. And I think I probably could have been about 5 pounds lighter to be shredded. So I put on a little mass, but it takes time. Now that being said, if you just did a direct comparison of like, muscle to fat, or really lean body mass to fat mass, you wouldn't think I would need to be 170 when I was 220. And the reason being is that we get in our head, when you hear LBM or lean body mass, you think that's pretty much just all muscle.
Pure muscle.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah, but we have a whole shit ton of stuff that's lean body mass that's not muscle. Anything that is not body fat is lean body mass. So like your eyeball, lean body mass, you know?
Damn. My BBC?
Your BBC is definitely body mass. I've seen that thing. And not really. And,
damn it! Fuck. What is it then? What is it?
I meant not really that I haven't seen it.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure it's all LBM.
All right, good.
You're like your intestines, lean body mass.
Okay.
The veins that supply your fat, blood, lean body mass. You know. So there's a whole lot of stuff.
Are you saying that as you get leaner, then you could be losing lean body mass, but it's not exactly muscle?
Yes.
It could be like other stuff. That's what you're saying.
You will definitely. You have to lose lean body mass as you drop body fat.
Okay.
Of course you want to minimize the amount, but I think probably the biggest losses people don't realize come from water and glycogen and other things like that. So I mean, like your body fat percentage is including the amount of hydration you have in your body, you know, and every gram of glycogen, which is just stored carbohydrate, carries with it, you know, about 3 grams of water. And even, you know, creatine phosphate comes with water. So all these things, you know, have weight. And they're not calculated as body fat if you get your body fat percentage taken. So basically, I think I made the comment in your thread there. I was like, you know, one, the amount of lean body mass you can carry at 190 is not the same as it is at 155. And I didn't say muscle. Two, if you do end up being, you know, 165, fantastic. You know, I'd rather err on the side of let's be leaner. You know, it's not like you're going to have, if you can start to lose at 170, I'm not going to say, all right, do you go chop off your arm? I need to be 150. So,
for real. For real.
And I'm sure there was a 3 as well, but I don't remember what it was. But the main point is just that there's a whole lot more that needs to go than pure fat. That it's not even like it needs to go; it just will go.
It just has to. It happens.
And other things is like I probably get maybe 10 inquiries a day about our services, and probably a couple of those turn into applications and stuff like that. And we always have our potential clients submit pictures of who they are, so we can get an idea of basically how long you need to diet and prep for. And what I get all too often is someone who is about 30 over, you know, that means they're probably 15, 16, 17% body fat, and, you know, 5'10" or something like that. And they go, okay, so I figured I'd give it a little more time this year. I'm going to diet for 16 weeks.
Yeah.
You know?
16 weeks.
And, you know, I guess that's longer than the traditional diet, but the traditional diet is what, again, has those 45 out of 50 guys not shredded. And then 4 weeks is going to make you look just a little bit better.
Just a little bit.
So, you know, so typically what I'm always doing is telling guys that it takes the average person about 5 to 7 months to get in shape from an average body composition. You know, if you're really great at fat loss, it might take you 4, like you did in, I guess, was that 2011?
Yeah. 2011, yeah.
Or for me, I started at 200, and I had to get down to the high 170s in 2011. And I started in January, and I didn't get on stage till August, you know? So I lose fat a lot slower than you. So, I mean, I had an 8-month diet, and you had a 4-month diet, and I think we got close to the same body comp, you know? So, I mean, there's definitely some individual variation. But anyway, I tell most people 5 to 7 months if you really want to get shredded. And most of the time, telling people, you know, pick a different show, please, pick a different show. And they're like, well, no, I lost like 25 pounds in 16 weeks. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you can lose 25 pounds in 16 weeks, and then you get to like 8%, and then you just can't get farther, you know?
Very true.
You know, the trick to getting like truly shredded is not just, you know, crash the diet and grit your teeth and bear it. It's, you have to keep your metabolism alive. And that's something that crash dieting is the antithesis of. So, it's got to be long, it's got to be slow. You got to have refeed. You have to eat and sometimes take diet breaks, and sometimes you have to go the other way with your calories then down, to try to keep it alive. So it just takes time, and there's always going to be curveballs that life throws you, or a sticking point. So I think the main reason I want to talk about it is I see so many guys who are jacked, great physiques.
Yeah.
They're way more worthy in terms of just how much muscle mass they carry than half the pros I know. But just because their ego and their fear gets in the way, and their inability to change what they've done before, they don't get lean enough to win.
Very true.
I look at being shredded is kind of almost a requirement for entry at the top level, unless you really have just incredible muscularity. Martin Daniels, not that Martin doesn't get lean, he just doesn't get crazy lean, and he doesn't need to. I mean, he's won the world championships because he's one of the most muscular in the natural bodybuilding world.
True.
But for the average to, just kind of good pro or even amateur, if you want to get to the top level, you just got to show up with everything in your power maximized, So basically, you have more than you think you need to lose if it's your first time competing. It's going to take longer than you think, and the stage weight that you think you're going to be at is probably a little higher than reality. And really, you just need to go until there's pretty much no subcutaneous fat left.
Yeah. How many weeks per pound should someone be shooting for? Because obviously they think they have to lose less weight than they do. So what would you say are off the bat, to guess how much weight you need to lose and add how much to that, and then to give yourself how many weeks for that?
I would say a pound per week.
Okay.
But the thing is, that's true. Because if you look in the mirror and you think I need 20 pounds to lose, and you actually have 30, that means you need 30 weeks, not 20.
Yeah.
So if you can get an accurate measure of how many pounds you need to lose, probably a pound per week is fine, and you can lose. Yeah. And this is for an average-sized male competitor. It's going to be different if you're a chick. You can't lose a pound per week if you're already above but you can, you just might not want to. But anyway, you can lose faster in the beginning, and then it's going to have to slow down as you get to the end. But it'll probably average out to be about a pound per week. So, but if you're not sure how far over stage weight you are, maybe do something like a week for every 0.75 pounds or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and the thing is, you don't always have to just compete for a specific show.
True.
One thing, and then some people need the dates to kind of keep them in check and think, okay, I gotta get ready for this date, and this keeps them motivated. But in 2011, I started dieting in January, and I said I'm not getting on stage until I'm shredded. Period. And
Smart.
I skipped the silver and black. I skipped.
True.
Basically 3 shows, and waited until August when I was actually in shape. That mindset doesn't necessarily work for everybody. I don't think it even would have worked for me when I was younger. But sometimes it's better to get yourself in shape and then look at the calendar. That's a lot easier said than done, depending on where you're located. Out here in New Zealand, for example, there's 2 natural bodybuilding shows a year. Period.
Shit.
But if you're in if you're Matt, you pick a litter, and you've got everything from Washington, down to Oregon, even through Southern California, and you've basically got a show almost two a month.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options. When you're a pro, sometimes that's a lot different as well. You're contracted to do a certain number of shows. There's not as many. You may not be allowed to cross-compete in different organizations depending on where you're at. But if you're an amateur and you're competing in the West Coast or East Coast, there's no reason you have to pick a show and put a gun to your head and say, this is the one I'm going to do, If you plan to be ready in May and you're not, I know there's a show in June, July, and August. So nothing wrong with that. And that's a great way to go.
True.
It's a lot of times you just need time. That's all it is. Just more time.
Okay. So I think that covers that question. There's a few questions on Facebook, if you don't mind covering some of these. I think there's some pretty good ones. Okay, first one. Let me rephrase this. Okay, with your clients or people in general, how low? I have to like rephrase this. How low can you take someone's dietary fat without it being too low and affecting their hormone levels?
So there's a couple assumptions inherent in this question.
Yeah.
One is that one of the biggest determinants of hormone levels is dietary fat. And from the research I've done, and what I've seen anecdotally, is that research I've seen, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest things that will affect hormone levels is a caloric deficit and body composition, and then fat will have an impact, but fat tends to make more of a difference when you're at, like if you're messing around at maintenance, you know.
Okay.
But, like for example, there's a really good study that I like where they measured testosterone, IGF-1, and insulin for 11 weeks before competition in natural bodybuilders. These guys, I think I want to say they're somewhere in Eastern Europe. It's a natural bodybuilding competition there. The study is by Maestu, 2010. But they had a lot of different combinations, but everyone's testosterone dropped immediately when they started dieting. Period.
True.
And
hey, quit being a little bitch! Ogus cake!